Hello. We're gonna get a little bit pedantic in this video. So recently I asked y'all both on Instagram and over on YouTube which title you were most comfortable with, and I purposely left writer off of that list. Also, within the last month, a New York Times article came out that stated 98% of books that publishers released in 2020 didn't sell more than 5,000 copies. I actually saw this first over on Reddit in our books, and I really enjoyed the conversation there and the different places I've heard this since on podcasts, just kind of Googling things. So I want to talk about some of that too, some of the comments that I really loved on the title conversation, and how this all loops together, at least in my brain. I also have coffee. It's going to be a chatty video. Let's get started. Ooh, I got some new beans. Those are pretty good. So for those of you who didn't see the New York Times article, I will leave a link to it down below. I'll leave a link to everything that I mentioned down below. But that specific line, the detail that 98% of books that publishers pushed last year didn't sell more than 5,000 copies, was the biggest grab, the biggest takeaway I've seen from everyone. And this is not a surprising stat. I guess maybe seeing it written down in the New York Times and just having that precision is interesting, but people have been talking a long time about the disappearing mid-list. Alexa Dunn has made several videos about that topic. Just upon a quick Google search using that specific phrase, you can find that there were several articles written that quoted it. One of them was from Nathan Bransford, and he said, "At least from my vantage point, this 98% stat feels more like a culmination of industry trends more than it has always been the case through time. We live in a winner-takes-all moment in history, and the mid-list authors who sold fine but weren't bestsellers have been largely decimated, at least at traditional publishers. The rich are getting richer, mega bestsellers are getting more mega, and everyone else fights for the scraps in the long tail." This is something that the New York Times article mentioned about how there was, at least in 2020, and the article is more about how the pandemic affected kind of reader tastes and where readers went to in terms of booksellers. They talked about how celebrity memoirs were way more popular this year than ever before, and they're already super popular, right? But that money that they make there allows them to take a risk on other concepts and whatever. So this is not a hate on the mega celebrities who become bestsellers overnight or whatever, you know? Everyone's a New York Times bestseller now. But the Reddit users that I saw when I was scrolling through the conversation said that this is nothing new. This has been kind of the trend as the decades have gone on within the publishing industry. I think this also goes hand in hand with the rise of the indie field, or perhaps the reason that some people who would have gone trad pub before have hopped over into the indie sphere, besides just the ease of doing it yourself now. But this user said, "You'll find similar patterns across all creative endeavors where the output can be scaled cost efficiently. 98% of songs written, 98% of games developed, 98% of companies started, etc. gains little to no success." And I was listening to Joanna Penn's podcast where she talked about this topic, and she actually shared some of her own stats for 2020, which of her books sold more than 5,000 copies and which sold under. Something I've noticed, and I love her podcast, is that a lot of the nonfiction books, specifically how to, make a living as an author and the like, are the ones that sold over 5,000 copies. That's really a lot of what her podcast is about. So again, this is all going to tie together. So podcaster, writer, and thus creator. She mentions in her nonfiction books that writers are part of the maker movement. I think a more widely used phrase of that same concept is the creator economy, where Joanna mentions Jane Friedman's blog. Jane Friedman links a lot of really great things in her blog posts about how much writers make doing this or that, but she also qualifies it by saying how much she hates that question, which I love, and she makes a bullet point list of why that is, including traditional publishing earnings can have little in common with self-publishing earnings. Your genre/category can determine a lot about your potential earnings. So does how much work you have out on the market. More book equals more earnings potential, period, no matter how you publish. And authors who participate in the so-called creator economy can have little in common with authors who do not. Which is kind of what brings me back to the question that I had for y'all from a couple weeks ago that I posted on my Instagram stories and on my community tab. Now, I phrased the question the exact same way, though I did kind of switch up the order of the answers, just in hopes that no one was selecting the first answer just because they immediately were struck by that one, okay? So I asked, if you had to choose, which of these titles do you identify with the most? Crafter, maker, artist, or creator? Now, I was inspired in part because a lot of my writer friends, and I'm using writer as the title there, a lot of my writer friends have another artistic talent that they really lean into. So to be fair, a lot of my writer friends I met through AuthorTube or through YouTube as a whole, BookTube, whatever. So they're already creating another kind of art, or they're already creating another kind of something. We will debate what art is at another time because I'm still very curious about that too. But a lot of my friends are already writers and then they are making videos. So they're potentially a YouTube creator or a YouTuber, whatever you want to say. But a lot of them are insanely freaking talented. Tons of them are into crocheting. Some of them are into book cover design. Others of them are painters. Like, it's mind-boggling, truly, the creativity that my friends have and the passion and the skill and the talent. But I was trying to come up with something that really encompassed what all it was that I did personally. And I've fallen back on creator, and I don't know if that's because YouTube creator is the term that I hear most often. So if I'm not going to say just writer, even though that is what I tell people because I don't want to tell people about the YouTube stuff, I'll say I'm a writer. But that's not all I do, right? So what is a more encompassing term? Now, in the defense of some of my options here, Maker did not get a lot of love. The most common issues with Maker was that some people thought that those meant like very specific hand made things, which is really cool. I do think there's an entire kind of niche that does call themselves the maker community. I think it tends to be for like bigger builds and stuff. Ironwork, maybe. I don't know a lot about it, but it's fascinating to me. Also, filmmaker. So that was my thought process. Some people were like, what the fuck's a maker? Some people had kind of religious connotations to it. Some people ixnayed that one again because it felt more crafty. Crafter obviously had the same kind of thing, but you know, a handcrafted item, beverage. And I guess I was just ultimately surprised because through both the Instagram stories and the community tab poll, both of them suggested that creator was the preferred term over artist. And I would not have guessed that. When I posted, I thought for sure artist was going to take it. I got 1,428 responses over on Instagram and 3.7 thousand responses over on the community tab, with YouTube saying that 51% preferred the term creator, 32% preferred the term artist, whereas over on Instagram, 58% of people preferred the term creator versus 29% preferring the term artist. I did appreciate a few other terms that people liked better. So bonus shout out to storyteller, story crafter, Lauren with procrastinator. But what I was expecting was kind of what Puff Pride said, which is that I'm an artist because writing is art. I really don't know how else to explain it. Whereas Sophie said, I like that creator encapsulates all my forms of creativity. I also really loved her option being collector, which I thought was fascinating. It's also worth noting that Shay with the Hobbies helped start Creator Tube. And I think for me, the reason I chose creator, besides it just being YouTube creator and being used to that, is that artist for some reason has always had a connotation of a physical art that I could see. And while you can see words on the page, and while I absolutely do think that writing is art, in fact, I think a lot of things are art. I think art is a very large, beautiful, encompassing thing. All that to say, I'm not the only one. I think the biggest reason someone didn't select artist was almost like I haven't earned the title. I think art in the writing world for some reason has a connotation of like it being maybe more literary and less genre. Maybe the prose is beautiful. You know, like poetry I almost think of as more art than what I do, which is wrong, which is bad. It's all art. Who's to say that one thing is art and one thing isn't based off of your own perception of its goodness? Like, but that's ingrained in my brain and I feel good that I'm not the only one, but also like kind of not. Anyways, my coffee's a little cold now. If we're being pedantic, I would say it's lukewarm. Anyways, the topic is just very fascinating to me. I loved reading everyone's responses and reasons. And while I am very gung-ho, I guess, on the creator economy, I enjoy doing multiple creative things and I enjoy making money from all of those things. And I've done several Q&As where there is a point of like, where is the art or the creation just for you versus making money from it? It is really interesting to hear more and more people say that, you know, there's fewer and fewer people who can be just writers or just authors and live off of that. I don't think that's to say you can't aspire to that. I just think it's a very interesting, you know, tides are turning sort of thing. Some people have been preaching that for a while. And of course, who's to say that you need to make money from your art? That's a whole different conversation Anyways, I just thought all of this was fascinating and I felt like sharing and talking it through. I don't know that it helped me realize anything else other than I need to think of myself as an artist, but creator does feel more right for me. I will, however, try to stop putting boundaries on what art must be. I say even as I rolled my eyes because I already know I'm being dumb about it. But whether you are a crafter, maker, artist, creator, storyteller, story crafter, world builder, or procrastinator, or anything else, here's to us trying. Please do comment down below. Let me know if you'd like to expand your thoughts on any of these things. Let me know if you've had a shift in time over what title you would prefer to use. Let me know if you'd read that New York Times article. Let me know what you think of any or all of the topics brought up because of it. Again, I will leave links down below. I'm still reading. I'm still clicking on more links that are leading to more links. I am fascinated. But my coffee is done. That's gonna be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see y'all very soon with a new video. Bye! And I was listening to Joanna Penn's podcast where the output can be scaled cost efficient. What?